The South African premiere of the internationally acclaimed documentary, The Great Dance, by local filmmakers Craig and Damon Foster, took place in Uppington, the largest town on the river. The film was shot in the Kalahari, north of the town, and went on to win the highly prestigious Golden Panda at the Wild Screen Awards in the UK for Best Documentary of the year 2000. The hype of an internationally lauded film seemed overstated to many, but maybe it's because we're not used to celebrating local heroes. To others, it seemed like a group of privileged whites romanticizing the way of life of indigenous African people.
I guess since the early part of the last century, people have done films on African people, especially on the Bushmen. And most of them are, it feels like an outsider looking in. You generally get some kind of English narration by a European person observing what these people are doing. The whole premise of The Great Dance is exactly the opposite of that. It's a story based almost entirely on the words of a Bushman himself, and told through his eyes. We journeyed with the group for a long time. They advised us about the film. We took the rough cut back to them. They advised us further. And the entire script is taken from the words of Ngate. People have this idea that before Europeans came here, the culture was static. It was moving the whole time, and they were developing extraordinary art. Their culture is absolutely incredible and was continually shifting. It's now gone through onslaught, with them being dispossessed, marginalized, thrown off their land. And it's only these tiny little groups that still hold on to aspects of their culture. And we certainly, one's got to be very careful of romanticizing that living off the land idea. If you ask the old people, was it better in the old days or was it better now? Half of them will say it was better then, and the other half will say it's better now. So it's a difficult question. But going back to the idea, you said in 1% now of human history, everything has changed so radically. There's no way so we've had time to adapt. The strange thing is whenever I think, and I've been all over Africa, wherever I think of the word wilderness, I think of the Gariep, the Orange River, and especially the area where it runs into that magnificent canyon. Whenever I do big African trips, I always come through and spend a few days at the river. And it's just amazing how powerful that spot is. You know, you've just been through the most remote parts of Namibia and Zambia, or wherever, and you come back there. And even though it's quite close to parts of civilization, there's just a sense of, wow, you couldn't remember how powerful it was, how beautiful it was. I think the great thing about that place is that it actually allows your thoughts to still. It stops the thoughts. I think the thoughts are often what hundreds of thoughts every hour plague people, but this is a place where these thoughts stop and you can just be in the moment. It's just simplicity without hassle. It's sometimes there's not a lot going on, and it would seem like nothing, but that's the best thing about it. You get wonderful thoughts, and you get very creative thoughts, and it often inspires art. And that's where I started. In fact, that is the very place next to the river, up high, where I started this land art, which I love doing. It's a type of communication with the landscape in a way, but it's more with oneself, trying to recognize oneself in that environment. I have lived in Europe for a while, and I was most uncomfortable, but I still found it an interesting experience, and I guess it heightened my love for Africa, because I realized that I didn't function well there, and I really love it here.
And I was offered a job to run a place up here. And I grabbed it with both hands. And I moved up here. And this beautiful river never let me go again. It's now flowing right through me. The scene for me is not what it is for you, because I live here every day. I don't discover things anymore every day like you will if you come here. But for me, the most rewarding and what keeps me going here is the fact that when I see people coming after a trip down the river, and I see that sparkle in their eyes, when I see that change in their, that's what keeps me here. That rewards every effort that you did to make them happy. And that will keep me going until I go to the new hunting ground, you know.
I don't know, just people in general treat you differently. This is South Africa. And, you know, when you're black, then some people, not all people, they kind of think of you as being intelligent to that, in a lower level of the intelligence group. So they treat you accordingly. And I find a lot of that happens on the river. Let's put it this way. I hate the fact that every white man that I've met on the river looks at me and thinks I'm closer, and has to throw a few closer sayings at me. That's what I hate.
Yeah, a lot of people are race conscious, especially with all the influence from the background, the parents, and they're too stubborn. They don't want to see past it. They're still living in the old times, and get with it. We're living in a new age. It's just a matter of adapting. You want to adapt or not adapt is how you put your mind to it.
When I go down there, I think I just clear up everything. All the rubbish goes out of my brain, and I try to get as much as from the outside as possible. And I tell you one thing, the most beautiful experience on this river, where when I pedal on my own and I feel everything, this time of the day, pedaling your own, in the quiet of the river, the beautiful pools with the sun behind you or in front of you, it's unique. It's very, very unique.
Now I hear there's a train. It's coming on down the line. Sure as if you hurry, you got still enough time, and you don't need no ticket, and you don't